Aleric, welcome to the Leaders Lab.
Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we were just saying Aleric and I got introduced a month or two ago, and he was on the fly, and we were on Zoom, one of us from wherever I was, and I think you were in Cabo, and um, but I just loved your energy and I loved your story and wanted to have you back in a different capacity for being a guest on the show. So welcome to the Leaders Lab.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be back. I remember I was taking the Zoom call from the lobby of the hotel. They didn't have the room ready for me, so I was just hopping on there. So this is a better format. So I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I really wanted to hear more about your story. I mean, it's not often I get off a call and go, I wish that would have gone longer. But when I talked to you, I really did, and I think what you've accomplished, and you probably get tired of people saying like at such a young age, but for real, it's part of your story, right? So, can you walk us through, even before the YouTube channel started, tell us where you grew up, tell us what life was like, and then take it from there, if you don't mind.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So grew up in Massachusetts, in kind of suburb outside of the city. I'm in Austin, Texas now, but used to live out near the Boston area. And yeah, growing up, kind of just a standard kind of middle class suburban kind of upbringing. But my parents really always taught me to be creative and to find new ways of doing different things. And it was one of those things where I was always trying to figure out like ways that I could kind of make money or build businesses or do different things. I had this lemonade stand and I would sell lemonade as a kid, alongside the road. And all these people would be going down to like this, swim and tennis club, right? And I would be selling my lemonade. I'd be out there like, all weekend long. And I remember my parents kind of teaching me about profit, right? The difference between revenue and profit, because I remember being like, well, wait, why don't I have all the money I've taken in? Well, no, this is what paid for the lemons, paid for the sugar, paid for these different things. And yeah, I remember even going knocking on doors, like going selling lemonade at like different yard, like, asking if I could go and sell lemonade at like yard sales. I'd see in the paper a yard sale coming up. I'd go be like, hey, I'd love to sell lemonade there. So I'd always kind of started with this entrepreneurial like kind of drive. Like I kind of
Well,
just
I
was,
I
and
liked you calling it. I liked you calling it creativity because I don't feel like people call it that enough, and it's really interesting because I'm a father to two grown kids now, and they're both creative in the artistic sense. And I used to always say like, "Oh, I'm not very creative," and it's like, yes, I was. I was creative how you were. Where I believe it's the same part of the brain. It's just channeled in a little bit different way, right? And so to me it was the same thing. I mean, I was selling, I remember I was in the Boy Scouts and they always had stuff we could make money on because we were making them money, right? So I was selling all kinds of things like customized license plates, apples. We had a neighborhood that had a vacant lot but it had apple trees on it. I'm like, well, if no one's going to do anything with these, I'm taking them, and I'm selling them. And I did the lemonade thing, I did paper routes. But I love that. And I also love that your parents taught you about you know, again, that it's not just all sunshine and rainbows, right? Like you probably realized real quick that how you priced your lemonade was like critical to actually making money, right?
exactly. And I was in the Boy Scouts as well. So I would go to like I would go sell all the popcorn and I'd always
Yeah.
look to be like I want to be that top sales,
Yep.
so just knocking on doors. And I think it's actually a really cool thing that you know uh that helped me later on because a lot of business is going out and not being afraid to sell and market and be rejected, but
Yeah.
also going and pushing for those yeses. So, I similar kind of thing. And kind of fast forward, that kind of led me over to, I was filming videos at the same time. I was like kind of enterprising, doing some stuff with the lemonade stand and learning like, I love business, but also I was like filming videos with friends and with my brother. And I had this old kind of like Sony, like, camcorder or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like recording all these different videos. And originally they were just these different like sketch videos, things like that. And I remember going online and as a kid, even though I was doing some stuff with the lemonade stand, like I didn't necessarily like have well, we didn't really have an online way at that time of like paying
Right.
for like hosting or whatever. So I was hosting my videos on free sites, and there was like, I think it was like Newgrounds or something. You could post these videos, but then if people didn't like it, they just get downvoted. So
Yeah.
people were like downvoting, and if you got too many downvotes, they would delete the video. So they just delete the whole video. And so because it's either you pay for hosting or your video has to be good. And I
Sure.
thought it was a masterpiece, but some people disagreed. But
Now, was your intention at that time? Because how old were you when you guys started making those videos?
I started making videos. I mean, really, I started making videos like 7 or 8. Like
Oh my gosh.
I taught myself. I think it was when I was, I think 10, 9 or 10 is when I got the like Adobe Creative Suite, like one of the early like CS2, one of the early
Sure.
uploading it on like a dozen discs and stuff, and learning how to do like video editing. I was on this video like forum. It was videocopilot.net, and I was like learning all of these. I was watching tons of these tutorials.
Right.
This guy like Andrew Kramer was making all these like tutorials on how to do these like Adobe Premiere, After Effects, all these things.
So
And
did it feel like a hobby, or did you have the intention of like, hey, someday maybe this will get monetized? Like early on, was it more just like we want to make cool videos and get them noticed, or like, and what was the content of them? Was it like you guys on your skateboards doing jumps, or like what kind of stuff was it?
so those were more movie type things. And I kind of had the two pulls in different directions where
Yeah.
I really wanted the business side. And at the time, right, what I saw as like the pinnacle of business is kind of like, the big like enterprise, like, superstore like Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm going to build like something like that, because as a kid, you don't really understand it. Or being a director. The other thing I like too is like, movies and videos and things like that. And so I kind of had these two pulls, and actually I kind of combined the two of them together with like YouTube ads. So that's the I'll loop it all together in a second. But yeah, so I was like figuring out how to do videos, and that's when, so videos getting taken down or paying for hosting, YouTube came along, and I was like, this is the best thing. And I think I started watching some videos in like 2007, like an early, and I was I was a kid at the time, but and then 2008, I uploaded some of those sketch videos, and then I actually created more of like a business-based channel in the AppFind YouTube channel in 2009, and that's where I was reviewing mobile apps, tech tutorials. Like I'd gotten the first like iPod Touch, 2009. I had this iPod Touch. I was like, showing the different apps that you could use, all the different things you could do, and I was filming it as a video. And originally, I had filmed it for my old channel, like my sketch channel. And all my other videos had like a dozen views. This video got 1,000 views. I'm like, wait, people want
Wow.
to watch this content, because at the time all the apps were paid. We didn't have the freemium model. So if people wanted to find out like, do they want to use this app or not, they would watch a review. And so I would do a review on these like 99-cent apps or games, and I would review it. And then people would go to YouTube and they would just search it in. It was like SEO, right? It's like they search it in, bam, my video pops up, they watch it, and then decide if they wanted to download the app or not. And so I created that. I was coming up with a name, AppFind, and made that in 2009. I was like 12 at the time. I was 12 years old at the time.
Wow.
Created an account. I think I even had to lie about my age at that time. It was kind of funny because you had to be like 13 to create it. It's so funny. Like that it was, I was that young creating it. But anyways, I was basically publishing videos, teaching people what are the best apps. But then where it really took off was teaching people how to use their iPhone for the first time. So I started teaching with the iPhone 4 was the first one I did this. I did an iPhone 4 complete beginner's guide, and that video got hundreds of thousands of views. So I went from thousands of views to hundreds of thousands of views.
Wow.
And I realized there was a new market there of teaching people technology. I was already doing that. I was teaching like, my parents, my grandparents, like,
Right.
how to do like how to use their iPhone or their technology. And so I started making these complete beginner's guides. And fast forward, like one of my most popular videos there was the iPhone 7 complete beginner's guide. That was kind of like the iPhone when everybody got an iPhone.
Right.
So I made that video. It's got 8.6 million views.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it just kind of took off. And that really propelled the channel, and grew past 100,000 subscribers, and then ultimately beyond 500,000 subscribers.
But you were still in high school, like when the iPhone 7 came out, right?
Yes, yeah. So it was exactly. I think it was on the I think it was on the cusp there. I think that was either yeah, but kind of in between. But yeah, exactly. So I think I might have been just early in college. It was that might have been like in between the two. But yeah, basically that was kind of the tail end of high school going into college, and I was doing those videos, and then I started like just doing even more videos. I was already making some money from the channel. Which was great. And I started getting all these sponsorship requests from mobile apps. So all these different apps wanted to sponsor the channel. I was doing these different videos, basically teaching people how to use their iPhone, showing people the best apps. And all of these apps wanted to know how to get more downloads. So I would publish a video, they'd get a bunch of downloads, be great. So then kind of fast forward to like 2015, and I was in college at that time. It was like actually early on, like it was my freshman year of college or whatever. And I was in college, and I was trying to figure out, okay, like what's next, and what can I do to make this bigger? Because I was seeing there's kind of linear growth. I'd put in effort, I'd create a video, I would make money, I was making good money, but it wasn't like
No,
a
stop.
business like.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, what if we take these videos and we run it as an ad to promote these apps? And so there was an app developer that wanted to get more downloads, like, hey, how can we get more downloads? And what if we take this video and run it as an ad? And I do that. They get thousands of downloads for their app. They're blown away. They're like, all right, this is great. How can we do this again? Like, can we keep doing this with this video? So we kept doing that video. We do it with
Do you
more
mean
apps.
do you mean like because I'm new to this. I've never done like YouTube ads. So if do you mean like let's say you have the one for like the iPhone 7, is it like an embedded ad where it's like, hey, download whatever, right? Is that how it is? It's your video with their product like as a download embedded in there somehow, or as a pop-up or whatever while you're watching the video?
So that's what I had originally done, is more of like a
Yeah.
sponsorship. But what
Yeah.
I did here was actually started to dive into in-stream ads. These are ads that appear in front of other videos.
Got
I
it.
just
Okay.
took a video I already made talking about the app, ran it as an in-stream ad to people that would be interested in that type of app, like based on what they were looking up or videos they were already watching on YouTube, and
Got it.
then driving to the app downloads. So this was like a paid ad, paying inside of Google Ads to run in front of other videos. The type of ads that we see today. This
Yeah.
was an earlier iteration of that. And that's also the type of ads that we help people with today. And so I got my first taste of how powerful a YouTube ad is. And I then had that company, they said, hey, we got a bigger client. We'd love to have you run YouTube ads for that. So then I was running even more. And it wasn't just my videos. We took the videos that they made and started running those as ads. And that company called me up. They want me to like drop out of college, fly out to Silicon Valley, join their team. And I turned it down. I said, you know what? I want to build this myself. And that's when I created Ad Outreach in 2016. And I was originally doing YouTube ads for mobile apps. So driving like millions of downloads across a variety of different apps. I kind of tapped mostly into my network for those people. All the sponsors that had already promoted me, I just went to those people and said, hey, do you want me to run these as ads? Do you want me to get you more users? Here's my case study. And I remember being on the phone with somebody, and they literally did not believe their own results.
Right.
I was showing them the results that they got. They were so in disbelief that they thought we were somehow fabricating. Like, this is a true story.
Like
Like, it was
creating the
crazy.
report.
But I'm like, this is in your like Google,
It's in
like
your
your
database. Yeah. Yeah.
Firebase dashboard.
Yeah.
This is like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how Firebase even works. I just know how to run
Right.
the app. So and then they were like, what? Wait, this is real?
Yeah.
Let's keep doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
because we'd shown like it was something like 12,000 like downloads in like a couple of weeks for this app. And
Wow.
anyways, so basically just diving in, doing that. There was kind of a brief period where I was like interfacing weekly with Google's Google built out like an app marketing team, and specifically YouTube app marketing. And I was like running some of the bigger like app campaigns at the time. And so I was on a like weekly call while I was still a college student. Actually, I haven't really told this on another podcast. So this is kind of funny. but I was on a weekly call as a college student with two people. And these were people from like actual like California Google, not like,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
probably the reps of like the other people. These were people that were hopping on with me. They were part of like they were part of the app install team. And we had these weekly calls for like a year and a half. Really, the only reason those stopped is I just switched over from apps into more businesses. But I was basically working with them to not only help get better results for our clients, but also tell them like what we were doing
Yeah,
on the
you're in exchange, you're giving them kind of tips and tricks that you're doing that they can use. What kind of money were you already making in like high school and college doing this? So did it start to monetize in high school or did it start to monetize in college?
Yeah. So in high school, it was the YouTube channel, and I was making over $60,000 a year in high school with my channel. So that was like around 5K a month. And I remember one of my high school teachers coming over and seeing, or like, and I was talking with somebody, I was telling them, I was showing them some of the stats of the channel, and he was like, asking what was going on, and I said, oh, I'm just showing this, and he was curious, so he took a look, and he's like, well, what does this mean? He's like, oh, well, that's just showing it was like $6,000 in revenue. Like if you look at the year, it's like 60,000 over the year, and he's like, that's not true. That's not possible. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? It is. Like it's right here.
That's more
And then
money
it's
than
like
he makes.
his
Yeah.
face goes white. He's like, that's more than I make. And that's when I
Yeah.
realized, wait a second, what? This is because I didn't really have a concept. I understand, like, I was just doing my thing. I didn't really have a concept of what relative scales of different, amounts
Sure.
of money. And at that time, and that's when I really realized, okay, this is something, unique.
I'm
And
curious of not to interrupt or digress, but I'm curious of your mindset in high school because I worked in high school. I might have made $10,000 a year. So I don't, not much, right? And it certainly wasn't something that I could scale had I put more time into it. What was your mindset like in high school? I mean, obviously you were focused on this. It was doing well. You were excited. You got tons of energy, obviously. But was it really hard to keep your attention on your schoolwork period? I mean, because that like you're like, if I just quit doing, you're in a boring high school class going, time is money, probably because you're an entrepreneur from birth almost. So that has to be going through your head. The other part is I'm wondering, how does a young guy handle 60 grand a year when you're 15, 16, 17 years old? And did you just bank it? Or, I mean, did you have a pretty cool head about it? Or were you out, I don't know, wasting money and doing crazy stuff? It sounds like you were pretty focused, but I'm curious how your mindset was around all that in high school and early college.
yeah, and I appreciate that. Yeah, so I was really focused, and in terms of to answer the different questions there, in terms of like the overall kind of mindset, I was just doing what I really love to do,
Right.
and I wanted to grow the channel bigger. So my big goal was 100,000 subscribers. It actually wasn't a certain amount of money per se. It was more about like growing the YouTube channel. And it's actually kind of funny because if you and again, his videos are more of like a family audience. But if you actually listen to like Mr. Beast's like interviews, and which are really fascinating because he's like at the top of the game on the YouTube organic side. These days I'm more focused on the ads. But if you hear him talk about YouTube, he's thinking the same way. He's just looking at how many subscribers, how much he can grow, how he can create the best
Right.
videos. At the time, I was kind of thinking more about that in a way to create a channel that can create also revenue. So I had the entrepreneurial drive to like bring in money, but I didn't understand like I wasn't benchmarking the money as much at that time. Later on, I
Right.
did as I like grew
Right.
my other business. And so what I was doing is I was just reinvesting some of the money in different things. Like if I wanted the latest Adobe software or I was getting a new iPhone each year, right?
Sure.
But I actually wasn't spending it on a lot of like random miscellaneous things. What I was doing is I was actually like just saving a lot of it, not investing, but saving. Later on I learned to invest. My parents taught me really well. And I think it's like the middle class mentality is saving, right? So there's like kind of the different thing, right? It's like learning to save, like kind of, again, and not to say things, different people are different life situations, right? But there's kind of like this degree of like learning to like figure out how to actually save, going from lower to middle class, but then from middle to like, more of the upper class and more enterprising is learning how to invest. And so
Right.
that's something I learned over time. So at the time I didn't really know as much about investing, But I did know about saving and not spending all my money because I wanted to, keep accumulating more. And I was able to use some of that money, to help pay for college and stuff like that. So it was like, that was another thing that I was thinking about as well. And basically, I was thinking about the monetary side of it, but I not until I got to college was I was really maximizing. So then when I got to college, that's when I was like, all right, now it's time to actually figure out how much money I can make, but not to go and spend it, just to like keep
Yeah.
building more.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'll just be honest. At that time, I was more interested in accumulating and wanting my bank account to hit, first well, really, like there were different milestones, but then ultimately hit like $1 million. That was like that was what I was like laser focused on. I like
Sure.
wanted, and at the time I wasn't really investing. I was just kind of like banking money away. And still there, it was like it was a, at that time it was a larger, it was a ways off. And but then I ended up doing it kind of shortly after graduating from college. But basically, that's what I was really like kind of focused on, was that. And so it wasn't going and doing a ton of things. Actually, the contrary, I was not, I was not partying in college. I was working like
Yeah.
until 3 a.m. on my business.
You
And
were
all
not the spring
crazy
break.
stuff.
You were not the head of the spring break committee or anything like that. No.
Now, I ran the entrepreneurship club. So that was,
There you go.
so I came in college, like my freshman year. I ran for president of the entrepreneurship club because I said we can grow this club and we can do it. We can do it with events to help people start their business, and we could do it with ads. And we
Yeah.
grew, and I grew, and we grew the club from like a couple dozen people to over 150 people. And that's honestly something I look back at, like my college days, is my legacy of leaving there. The entrepreneurship club that I really helped grow. It was like not as big when I got into it, and then it ended up bigger. There was an event called U Launch at UMass that I helped create, and that event is basically teaching people that they can start a business even as a college student over the course of a weekend, right? Getting sponsors to give some seed capital, to each of these businesses, around like $100 a person on these teams. Like there's not, really other things that, do that, right? It's like most
Right.
events you pay for. This event,
Right.
you get some seed capital to start, a business, and they're still doing that. I remember it was a grind. We had to like force the, like administration to let us go and raise from like alumni. They didn't like that we were reaching out, because I was just like, that was the door knocking thing. I was literally just calling and emailing alumni and getting them. Apparently that was a no because they're like, hey, you should. But anyways, but now I get the magazine because they want me, and a couple times I'll donate directly to the club. I've done that a few times, but like they want me to, donate or whatever, and they'll send the magazine. And the magazine, like literally one of the times, it had U Launch as one of the featured images. I'm like, that's actually pretty,
Nice.
because that's,
Nice.
something I helped
So
grow.
was it hard? It sounds like good parents, good upbringing. So you stayed grounded, you stay grounded right through this. So there was never a thought in your mind of like, maybe I should just quit school. I mean, what about when that offer came in from that company and like come to the Silicon Valley? I mean, were you tempted, or were you like, no, I'm in my lane? Like you said, I want to grow the company. I got to finish college. Was your North Star always to finish school and then just do this on your own?
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure from my parents on that. And then, like I said,
Yeah.
I think that's like kind of coming from the middle class, kind of like, it's like, all right, here's the plan, here's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I remember I was one of my and they totally get it now. Like
Yeah.
one of my summers, my parents were like, so are you gonna do an internship? And I remember having to like explain to them, I hired interns for that summer.
Yeah.
It was kind of
Yeah.
funny. But basically, at the same time, I actually liked it. Yeah, I like learning. I do think I discovered what a lot of people say going into it, that you don't like, a lot of the stuff isn't as practical, but I always have liked learning. Now I've transitioned to more like, being in different masterminds and,
Sure.
seeing coaches and different people. But I actually do enjoy like learning. I know some people that's not as much their experience, but I do enjoy learning. I didn't really realize as much at the time that I wasn't learning, and I kind of started to realize it, figure it out really when I wanted to leave. So when I got the offer, here's the thing though. It's like, stop. being an entrepreneur, running
Right.
this entrepreneurship club and learning, um, and go and work for somebody else. To me, I
And
was like, or like, I was like, you know what? I actually don't want to work for somebody else. I want to keep growing my business and I want to launch that after college. So that's where that was. And then I just think that like, in terms of regularly dropping out, when I realized I could potentially do it, because I think that was like a limiting like belief, even with wanting to do my business, it was when I had like a year left of college. And then I was like, you know, I'm just going to finish it. Why not?
sure. Well,
That's kind
what I think was really really telling is, like you said, you had the presence of mind to go, look, I love learning. I've built the entrepreneurial club. I've got my business. Really, the only thing on the other side is this carrot being dangled, which is only money, which is not your focus anyway. And had it been, it probably usually ends up being to someone's detriment, right? So that's awesome. So what happens with ad reach and everything as you graduate college, and where does it, what year was that? What year did you graduate, and where did it go from there?
Yeah, so graduated in 2018, and that's when I, you know, basically went to down to went to Cambridge, Kendall Square, in the Boston area, set up an office. I remember, you know, getting that first office, and that's when, you know, things really did take off. And again, I know like maybe it was delaying that, but at the same time, like I am grateful for every piece of the journey that I had, and the time that I was there kind of building things while I was in college. So once I graduated, that's where I was, you know, in this office. I had hired, my first employee was Julia, who was somebody at, you know, the college that I was going to. I'd spoken in a class. I was looking for interns. She was like our first intern, you know, or my first like, you know, kind of intern. There's a couple other people that were helping at that time too. But you know, and then she was great at operations, and there was kind of this like yin and yang kind of like, all right, I'm doing that. And so you know, she, when she graduated too, which was a little bit after me, came out to Boston and the offices. We hired a couple other people, and that's when we really started to grow. And it also evolved from running. It was originally running YouTube ads for mobile apps. I discovered the world of like ClickFunnels, and this actually was earlier on too. This was also actually in 2016. You know, so early while I was still in college, I went to HubSpot Inbound and I saw the ClickFunnels booth. I signed up for ClickFunnels. I joined my first mastermind while I was still in college. So the other thing I was doing too is I was flying out from college to like these masterminds, you know, in California, in Nashville, in Florida, in like all these different places, going to like this like mastermind house, all with all these businesses. I was always like the youngest person in the room, but all these different, you know, businesses and stuff. And I was flying like from college, like I was still in college.
Right.
I was like flying out there. And so I think that was part of it too, is I was, you know, also just like diving in and immersing myself into that, you know, and in that mastermind. And what happened was I was running YouTube ads to a webinar to promote that I could help app developers with their marketing with YouTube ads. And everybody else in the mastermind was running Facebook ads to webinars. And again, this was like, you know, that was more like 2016, 2017. So everybody was running Facebook ads to webinars. I was running YouTube ads to webinars. And so, and I was getting great results. So I soon became like getting really great results in this mastermind. And everybody was looking like, how are you getting these results? This doesn't make any sense. And then, oh, well, I'm just doing everything you guys are doing. I'm just using YouTube ads instead of Facebook ads. And that's when people were like, what? Can you teach us that? And so then I started, you know, what really became the bedrock for ad outreach. You know, and we do have some clients we run ads for, and there's some courses and stuff too. But really, it's this hybrid like training process to train either entrepreneurs, marketers, media buyers, or teams on how they can run YouTube ads. Because a lot of people know Facebook or Google search ads. We'll come in and we'll train YouTube ads. We'll help write scripts. We'll help set up the ads, and then help them optimize and scale, and really empower the businesses or the marketer or the entrepreneur or a media buyer to know how to actually run those ads long term. And that's one of the big things that we do. And so that's where I dove into that side of things. And so when I graduated, so now fast forward, so I was doing that, I was growing. When I graduated, we were at, you know, going into 2019, we were at like 60 to $70,000 a month, like with this business, revenue wise. And I remember just being like, all right, had graduated. Also at the same time, I went through like a personal, like kind of like weight loss transformation too. So I was like, I kind of gained weight in college. That was the thing, is like I was doing all these things, but I wasn't focusing on it with my health. I wasn't really
Sure.
exercising. I wasn't eating right. I was like 50 pounds heavier than I am today. And
Wow.
so I went through like, I basically lost, 50 pounds in 4 months, a nutritionist, and then, eventually getting a trainer as well. And I also like doubled down on the business. I now had more time. I got the office in the middle of, I think, 2019. And that's when we propelled past $100,000 a month, and then started like propelling from there. And then we went into 2020 at around like that 200K a month. And then, you know, during like I was going to go and speak at different events. I was going to host events in 2020, and then all that got kind of changed. And that gave me an opportunity to really double down on the business. And that's where we really scaled. By 2021, we had crossed over 8 figures, like really building up the business and ramping up things. And, it was definitely, yeah, really, really exciting, super fast paced growth. We got on the 2022 Inc. 5000 list, number 60 fastest growing company in America, which is like, I didn't
Crazy.
even really realize like how fast, we were growing until I kind of looked at that. And
Well, I think I saw your 3-year growth rate was like 6,000% or something combined, right? It was nuts. So let me ask you this. So what were some of, I feel like not only do you have the technical skill set, but you really do. I mean, obviously it's proved out, but you have the entrepreneurial instincts, but that doesn't always translate into being a great like team builder and hiring people and training people and developing people. Did that come pretty easy for you? I mean, or like, where were your biggest challenges as you were? Because listen, for anybody, I don't care if you're, like you were 22 coming out of college doing this, or 42, 6,000% growth in a 3-year time span between 2019 and 22, or 2020 and 2022 is insane. And for anybody like keeping up on that, there's going to be parts that where there's a crack in the foundation somewhere. What were the biggest challenges for you going through that kind of explosive growth?
yeah, basically the challenges I think were more on, um, for me, right, was like kind of managing the team, the operation. So not leading. Leading's different. I'll talk about
Yeah.
that in a second. But in terms of like putting those pieces together, but that's actually where I was really lucky to have Julia, she's now our COO, and employee number one, and now she's the COO, and she did a really great job managing that side of things, while I was like steering the vision and
Yes.
where we were looking to go. And so she was really great, and is really great at basically doing all the SOPs that we needed, doing the operation side, hiring, being discerning in hiring, because I can see the potential in everyone, right? That's
All
the
right.
thing. But all these different pieces, she was really, really good at that, and is really good at that. And that in that played a role in that growth, and still plays a role in where we are today. And in terms of, I think the thing that I was less prepared for was like kind of navigating, because after a lot of that aggressive growth, some things broke, as it's like, well, you grew like 6,000%. So
Yeah.
I think it was navigating not so much the growth. Both of us were really attuned to that. We faced some challenges in 2022, and that's, I think, where we were able to really grow, because it was like, okay, when you face some challenges and some resistance, and like we had a bunch of turnover on our sales team, we had to rebuild that basically from scratch, and that's where all the revenue comes from. And there's just these different things. And I think that was where I grew a lot. She grew a lot. We, as a company, grew a lot. The growth was a little more natural, I think, mitigating like bigger challenges, not the small challenges, like bigger challenges, like major like issues on like a sales team or something like that. That's where it was a little bit more, needing more growth, and there was a lot of growing through that, and building things in more sustainable ways, because
Right.
we realized we had duct taped a few things together on 6,000% growth, as you kind of need to.
Yeah.
And so then building it to be more sustainable, I think, was a big focus. In we kind of discovered that in 2022, and it was a big focus in 2023, which led us into a much more solid and exciting like 2024. In terms of the leadership side, that's something I have kind of always had, but I do want to keep tapping into and growing. And you mentioned like the Boy Scouts. I'm not sure if you Eagle Scout, but I'd become like Eagle Scout and all that stuff, and I was always like leading people like in that, like growing up, and then in the entrepreneurship club, and then in in business, right? Like just kind of from an early stage, just leading people. And
Yeah.
I just I think it's a gift that I want to continue to foster and grow. But I just love that. I love like being able to lift people up and inspire them.
Yeah.
uh, is really fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
Both team, but also clients as well. In the work that we do. And one of my favorite things is hopping on with like some of our higher level clients. Like we've got and kind of coaching and inspiring on that side too.
Yeah, you can tell it's very natural and instinctual for you, and that it comes from the heart, which is really cool. So, before we close out, so what's next? First of all, on the personal side, family of your own yet? Is that something down the road? And what are you looking to do with the business? Like, what are your future plans personally and professionally?
Yeah, so the family side is down the road. It's just
Yeah,
me right now. I've been
yeah,
really focused on the business side. That said, I do think we're entering into a new chapter, continual growth, but more looking at you know I rapid growth is really good, but I want sustainable, continual growth and the ability to unlock new, kind of like new opportunities to grow different segments, if that makes more sense. So like fast, very fast growing, like everything, there's a lot of really great benefits. There's also elements of challenge there. And so what we want to look at is continue to grow, but also looking at the compound growth, kind of like investing
yes,
that we talked about. And
yeah,
so that's kind of been a focus on that side. And I also launched a software. So now to dive into the other stuff. So family in the future, and over time, like I am looking to build more things into the business so that I'll have more time to do things like that, right? And explore more of those areas, the other things life has to offer too. That said, a big focus is on the business side. And so I have another company that I launched called Keyword Search. It's keywordsearch.com. It does AI ad targeting for YouTube and Google ads. Started about 3 years ago, originally just built for our team, because we found that our team was doing this repeatable process. It was, basically a 2 to 3 hour long process to do research, audience research, to build campaigns either for our clients or teach them how to do it. And our clients were doing that depending on, where they were at. But basically, this whole long, we had spreadsheets and do this and do that and find what people are searching for and use this tool for this and this tool for that. And there's not a tool for this, so we got to do it manually. We're like, well, why don't we just build our own tool?
right.
And I partnered with my CTO, Greg. He's here out of Austin, and brought him in, and we created Keyword Search. And what it does is AI ad targeting for YouTube and Google ads. So people go in, they just put in their URL, details about their business. It'll read their website. They click generate, and what it'll do is it will go in and find all the different potential interests that ideal person has that can be used as Google ad interest. It'll go and find what people are searching for on YouTube and Google, the actual like potential searches based on your business. That's the
Wow.
type of thing you used to have to research. It'll categorize them into topics, give you one-click expansion. So if you want more similar keywords, just click expand, it'll find more. Choose which keywords you want, and in one click, you can sync it to Google Ads. It's got a direct Google Ads integration.
So it's like a subscription-based model that you use as a tool to supplement your Google Ads platform
Yeah,
or campaigns.
so it's a subscription-based tool to rapidly build audiences.
Wow.
Agencies love it too. because, it just takes what would take hours and makes it.
Yeah.
We had a study, the average time. So we've had about 15,000 users go through it over the last few years. The average time it takes for someone to go from search to syncing an audience is 2.6 minutes, which
Wow.
it used to be hours to do this type of thing. So
Wow.
it's pretty exciting.
So
Now we've got
cool.
like AI YouTube ad script writer in there, and we're about to launch the scoop here. We're about to launch, again, YouTube ads. That's my bread and butter, but we're about to launch a Facebook audience builder as well. So YouTube, Google, and Facebook. Kind of
All through ad outreach.
that's through keywordsearch.com. Keyword
Oh,
search.
okay.
Yeah, the
Okay,
software.
cool.
Yeah.
Aleric, so good to get to know you a little bit better and to hear more about your story. I mean, what an incredible ride. And you're the kind of guy I can't wait to, it's almost like I want there to be a couple year gap in a way before I talk to you again, because I know there'll be so much that you'll do in the next, I think you can probably measure your success by weeks, not by years. So congrats on everything you've done. And I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Ken. It's been amazing. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. Take care.